Hey there. Have you ever felt like gaming companies manipulate you for profits and monetary gain? Today I'm reacting to Let's Go Whaling, and there's no time to waste, so let's go.
Hello, I'm here to talk about monetization, a summary of a huge bunch of behavioral psychology. The tricks on how to monetize a game well, but I'll leave the morality of it out of the talk. We can discuss it if we have time later.
Yeah, okay, so right off the bat, this is a huge red flag saying that we can discuss the morality issue of it at another time. Not a good start.
First off, this is to remind you that a lot of the spend comes from the high-paying guys, the whales. The very best way to get these guys to spend is to get two rich, competitive guys to fight each other and tell them, I'll give you a slight upside if you pay me.
Okay, so this seems to be a presentation at some sort of convention for game developers.
Top grossing games have in-game economies worth tens of thousands. That's how you can keep people in there. They have lots of things to do, stuff to upgrade, to progress along, and that's how you can make them spend a lot as well. I've seen suggestions to model what you sell according to Bartle types. The achievers want to progress in the game, the socializers want to speak to other people, the killers just want to compete and kill each other, and the explorers are the guys who are after stories and experiences.
Okay, so he's basically saying that there are 4 different types of gamers, right? And that there will be specific ways to monetize each type of gamer and what they prioritize. I would definitely say I'm the explorer type that prioritizes content.
You sell convenience to the achievers, which really means faster progress, customization to socializers, competitive advantage, that is pay to win for the killers, and content for explorers. The reason I highlighted convenience up there or progress is that most of your sales will be here. Customization, hats and stuff, they're nice, but you'll have a single-digit percentage of your income coming from that, if you do both that and progress. Competitive advantage is good, but you can go overboard with it and have an unbalanced game. If it's too clearly pay to win, people will stop playing. And content, it takes a lot of resources and time to do that. Selling content is very expensive.
I actually talked about this a little bit in my Dead by Daylight video, A Blight on Humanity Designed to Hook You, how they kind of like lean on cosmetics because of the lack of content in the game, cheap things that will kind of prey on the shallow mindset of some of these players. And that's not the only game that does that, but that is one that I have a video essay on, so...
Hook habit hobby, a model for how people progress in a game. The hook is what gets you into the game to try out a free-to-play game. Then you build it into a habit that you play multiple sessions every day. And then at the end, it's the hobby phase where people see it as one of their main hobbies, and they put lots of time and resources into it. The hook is where you put up an icebreaker. You want to give a really, really good deal, something that's a no-brainer. You would be crazy to turn it down as a player. By making people spend up front, they are also emotionally committing to your game, their retention will go up. And the first spend it breaks the ice, then they think of themselves as spenders in the game. It's okay for me to spend in the game.
Those mobile games where you need, like, let's say gems or something to buy in-game stuff, you need like in-game currency for that. They'll give you like a deal that's like, oh, $5 for like 500 gems, but then they'll make it, the next tier up will just be like a little bit more for what seems like a lot more in-game currency. And that makes you think psychologically that, oh, I should just spend a little bit more because I get so much for a little bit more money. That's how they get you. If you spend money on something once, then they will rely on you spending money again. That's with anything. Like, people spend money on advertisements for like social media and stuff. Once you spend money on stuff like that, then they got you. They will do anything they can to mess with you, either put you farther down in the algorithm when it comes to social media, or match you up with people to lose games so you spend more money. That's just always made sense to me.
This wall up, I will never pay for a mobile game. So you need to break the wall first. The habit is like the main meat of the game. This is where you sell the faster progress, as we just discussed. And the hobby is for the guys who have already maxed out. So you can no longer sell progress to them, you have to sell consumables. This is where you're selling the faster healing times or faster build times of armies. This is also where you get basically unlimited upper spend. They're named after gachapon, these Japanese machines, which are sort of slot machines that give you collectible stuff. On random, you get collectible stuff.
Not to be confused with gotchas.
No matter how much you spend, you cannot directly get the card you want. You have to, over and over again, pay to get a bunch of random cards and hope that the thing you wanted is in there.
When I think of this, I think of like loot boxes in Overwatch. It's just gambling at that point because you never know what you're going to get inside of them. And I imagine on the coder's end, it would incentivize for the higher priority items to have a very low chance of people who don't buy loot boxes to get. They say it's completely random, but I don't know about all that.
People like the lottery part of it. If you want to look up Skinner box to know why. It's really a lot more exciting, and you get more content because people cannot immediately progress to the stuff they want. They have to keep trying a few times. So it really takes like 5 times as long to get the collection that they need compared to just progressing and collecting soft currency and buying it straight off.
This video has 430,000 views. It's actually surprisingly like not as many as I thought this video would have.
Think about how you want to get to your millions. Do you go the king route of having a huge volume of players and a fairly modest lifetime value for each spender? Or do you go the machine zone route of having a very hardcore game that like 95% of the population is going to look like, what is that? But the 5% that actually do play it, they will spend a lot. Hot state. There's an excellent book about behavioral psychology called Thinking Fast and Slow. This is the fast thinking. I'm telling you that the fast thinking mode is what you want. The slow thinking is your analytical brain. What's 12 times 47? I'm sure all of you can answer that, but you have to start your actual thinking.
564.
Now, if I say, complete the sentence, bread and...
564.
Everyone thought butter. So that's the fast thinking. Our brain works in these 2 modes, and starting the analytical part of your brain is too much to ask for a spend. How it applies to games is make stuff immediately useful, immediate gratification. If you have a level-based game and you sell some boosters up front, for instance, a coin doubler or some other stuff that will help you, people will have to analyze and think it through. These things are good for me. These will help me progress before they do it. And they won't do that. If, on the other hand, you do like, for instance, in this temple run, once your game is over, save me, I have a few seconds to spend hard currency and I get to continue. Or similar in Candy Crush Saga, at the very moment that I've lost, I can see I just played a bit more, I can pass it. Make it immediately useful. Loss aversion. People are much more attached to the stuff they have than an equal amount of things that they can gain. Which means that if I give you an offer, I'll flip a coin. If it's tails, I'll take 100 euros from you. If it's heads, I'll give you 120 euros. Who would take the bet? No one. No. We need more gain to offset the loss is felt more strongly. We need like 200 against 100 loss, 200 gain against 100 loss, then we'll take the deal. In games, you can apply this by giving people stuff that feels is in their pocket and then threaten to take it away unless they pay up.
When I think of loss aversion, I think back to Overwatch. If you won a game, you'd get like 50 SR. S is like skill rating, right? That's your rank, your competitive rank. But if you lose, you'd lose like 100. So you'd have to do like 2 wins in order to equal 1 loss. Eventually, that's how it ended up going that way. It's an approximation, but it was extremely difficult to climb in Overwatch because you would lose more SR than you would win with games.
There are collectibles in things like Puzzle and Dragons. You collect along the way. If you didn't finish the level, they'll take it from you. Pay to continue a bit. Office and scarcity plays into the loss aversion. If there are rare cards up here and you see the goblin going with his clocks, tick-tock, I'll take it away from you, I'll take it away from you.
Yeah, that's not just in games, though. That sales tactic is very popular in a lot of things. Limited time only, last going away sale. We see that everywhere.
This is a brilliant way to get more. The builder from Clash of Clans, the builder has a very specific way of working. If you spend your hard currency on this guy, you will only get the benefit from him if you then keep coming back to the game very often. So it drives both retention and monetization.
Yeah, I forgot what I was watching, but someone was talking about something called subscription fatigue, where everything these days is subscription. Invest your money into something to get your media of preference, right? Because the content creators on their side, they want subscriptions because they want that solidified security of income, and the consumer does subscriptions so they know that they will constantly have new media from the creator or whatever, the entity that they subscribe to. And, with that subscription, they are promised content, but, it gets so out of control where, like, if you have 100 subscriptions for things, you can't even keep your finances straight. And then if you are not doing so well one month, then you have all these subscriptions, and then you have to end up canceling them. It's a whole thing. But everything is subscription now. Kind of hard to avoid it. On that note, subscribe to my Subscribestar.
The IKEA effect, stuff that we put work into, we value more highly. IKEA really sells you cardboard stuff. But the value, it's still somehow slightly
because you build
higher
it.
Because you actually built it yourselves. This is how we build habits. There's a trigger to remind us to do something, then we go do an action, we get the variable reward, just like the gachas. And then, to really hook it down, we need to ask people to do something for us, do a little bit of work, because then they become emotionally attached to that. And then we set up the next trigger, either internal or external.
This is almost like the dentist system from Always Sunny in Philadelphia. I can see this IKEA effect being very similar to manipulation tactics in a relationship too.
And then we go round and round, and we have the habit. Anchoring is fun. When we don't know the price of stuff, the first price we hear suggested for it becomes our anchor. And then we compare everything to that. Black pearls, when they first came on the market, no one wanted them because they're dull and black and don't look very nice. The guy who had them told his summer trainee or whatnot to just dump the price of them and get rid of them. The summer trainee understood it wrong and actually hiked the price by 50. And then suddenly they became these objects of desire. So how to use this in a game? Some games, immediately when you're in the tutorial, they suggest to you, you should buy this good IAP for 50 euros or something like that. I go like, oh, that's expensive, I'll never do that. Of course, no. And I expect them to say no. Then again, I come back like a few sessions later and suggest they buy it for 15. And I'll say, that's a good value because my anchor was at 50.
Almost like bartering, a little bit. You go into a place to buy something expensive, like a car or like a house, and then original price is just so ridiculous. So they bring down the price a little bit, which is still way over market price, still way over the price that they would buy the product for, or they have the product for that they bought it for and is trying to sell it. But it still seems like a good deal in comparison to this outlandish price that they start at, right? The starting price.
We are herd animals. We tend to do what all the others do. This means that the socially accepted way of behaving in your game should be paying. You want to tell people, for instance, when a clan member of theirs spend IAP money, you want the whole clan to know, because then that becomes the socially acceptable way of behaving. You absolutely do not want to tell them that the majority of people in your game never spend money. That's poison. Never tell them that.
It's poison, right? That's the poison, and not this whole manipulative business plan.
If there are rare gachas, not every player will see them every session. That's like the definition of rare. Which means that they will think that it's not likely to happen that they get one of those, which means that you should tell them about it, which means every time a clan member gets one of the rare things, you should broadcast it to all of the others, like your friend got this rare or legendary thing. The right amount of choice, this is a famous jam experiment. They put up a stall in a supermarket with 20 different jams. You know, have a taste here, then you have a discount, go buy some. And then they had a control group who had only 5 jams to taste. Now, for the one with 20, a lot of people stopped by and tasted the jams, but for the one with 6, a lot more people bought, because they know that that's the best one, that's the one I want. If there are 20, there's too much choice, we just get anxious, we choose nothing.
That is very interesting, that the less choices that you have, the more you are likely to make a decision. I suppose that makes sense, because a lot of people do get overwhelmed by how many choices are available to them. I mean, some people do. I don't care if I have 60 flavors of ice cream. I'm still going to try the dark chocolate first every single time. If there is a dark chocolate, I don't care if there's 100 other flavors. I will try the dark chocolate first in a sugar cone, please.
This is just another reminder for you to have content for a bloody long time. The core loop goes through the store, your core game there, and you go straight into the meta game where you do the upgrades, and then back there. So the loop always goes through the meta stage where you're spending money. Labeling technique, if we tell people they are a certain way, if we compliment them on being nice, good citizens, they are more likely to behave as nice, good citizens. So you should actually tell your players that they are generous individuals who have a taste for good art and want to support their game developers by paying you and buying IAPs.
That is very interesting as well. It's almost like using positive affirmations in order to manipulate people. Wow, that's a common theme in society, isn't it? Wowee. If you make someone think that they are a good person by benefiting you, then they are more likely to benefit you. It seems like common sense, right? But when it's all laid out on paper, so to speak, I can just relate this to so many other real world situations, not just in the gaming world.
Telling people the reason to do something makes them much more likely to actually follow through and do that. The reasons don't even have to be that good in order for this to work.
Wow.
And last, here are...
Wow.
Remember, there are 4 ways of progressing in games in general. A 2 skill-based game, you don't get people to pay you because there's no reason to. So make sure grinding and paying are legitimate versions of progressing in the game.
There's no profit in someone just having the skill to get to the top level of whatever game they're playing. So it incentivizes these game companies to make skill not the deciding factor on progression, which is super messed up. Wow, that was enlightening, to say the least. I definitely have seen these manipulative tactics. It preys on your psychological tendencies to want to feel a kind of achievement when you do something, when you put time and effort into something. That's just an evil predatory system, you know? It's unethical. I actually have another video on why video games are so toxic these days. My brother and I talking about how competitive online gaming brings out the dark triad in people. So I definitely recommend you guys watch that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any experiences with games like this, or if you have any comments on what was said here, please leave a message down below. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel and like this video. See you next time.